Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing a little bit of kind of game dev stuff. I'd probably make a couple of my artist friends very angry with this one, but I take the risk. What I'm planning today is basically creating foliage using AI generated images. The idea came to me a few days ago when I saw another video on YouTube. I'm not even going to promote it because it's like a side hustle and I'm not really hustling that much. It was basically about creating simple digital assets for Etsy to be sold, like clipart, and it included a segment about generating these clipart style pictures in Midjourney version 5. And the guy was specifically making clipart watercolor style clipart images. And then he hopped over to an online program called Photopea, removed the background, and then it basically used that as a clipart image stuff that he could export and then sell as like a picture, which is good. But I'm not here today, and it actually gave me an idea for something similar in nature but different entirely. These clipart images look to me like basically foliage atlas. If you are familiar a little bit with video game development, some of the foliage you see around the games and the environments are made in a similar way. So foliage is using one texture like this one, for example. And they can basically just cut around these leaves and display them as transparent imagery. So, wherever it's right, it will be transparent, and wherever it has some information, it will be an actual image. What we'll do is basically generate something similar, and then we go take it to Photopea, and then you can tell it's not particularly perfect, but I was specifically focusing on this image here. Let me zoom on that one. And it seems to be fairly simple. You see it's not perfect. This one part here is getting out of the wrong side, but otherwise it's fairly okay. And you see this little blackish outline for it. That's because I later on discovered that I can actually make this with a black background instead of a white, and it makes a somewhat of a different look to the foliage. Basically you need to just make this and then bend it around in Blender and make sure that it looks like foliage, and then you can export it and use it in Unreal, which I will show in a moment. I wanted to tell right in advance, while we are panning through this one a little bit, that this is not replacing any process. It's more like making one step easier. So if you are making generic foliage, creating this in Krita or any other program, if you are not that knowledgeable, would take like half an hour maybe, or something like that. And with this process that I will show now, we will basically saving that much of a time. So everything else in the game dev process for the moment, I must say, is the same as the generic other way of making foliage. So once you have this one, you can open up your Blender. Hold on, let me open up my Blender, and then I unhide stuff around here. So you can cut these out as planes, and they will look like this in Blender. And they can, if you switch to cycles render, they will be just like foliage, and you can build your own stuff from it. This is what we will do today. Something like this. And if you have this one, this is basically how foliage is made. So basically what we spare is just the the process of drawing the leaf, because AI can do that fairly fast. And you know, when you're walking in the game world, this will not really be that important. Let me show you how it works, this one foliage. So you have this one is a texture for the model, and you set it up the material like so, that it is not be specular, has fairly roughness, and then it can use the same texture for it. That's okay. And if you put it in the scene, it will look like this in a third-person game, and you can, you know, this is not much worse than many of the games I found, and the process of making this was like, I want to say an hour for me, but I always take my time, so you know, it's not perfect, but you know, if you just were looking for quick foliage, or you are trying to make your scene and stuff like that, this will be fairly easy. And from a distance like this, I would say it's not worse than most of the games I've seen out there. So let's get into it and look into how we can make something similar. I leave these open because whatever we create, we will create it in the same environment. Let me get back to this one, and I was trying to do a couple of things here. You can also create ground textures, and if you don't know that already, you can use the tile argument at the end of it to make it tileable in every direction. Not perfect by any means, but it can create some interesting results. I specifically went for hand-painted ones, but you know, you can do any variations. Then I tried to change up the prompt here to get some more realistic results from the foliage, but changing it from watercolor clipart to just clipart will result in one picture for some reason and not an atlas. I had to get back to it. So you can definitely use stuff like, let me zoom this one out a bit. So this one you might be able to use as like a ground foliage, but these are totally not usable. So I had to get back to describing what type of a clip art I want, and it was just foliage, greenery, minimalist bright colors, and isolated white background. I'm not sure why the dude did 8K at the end. I don't think it means anything. It technically makes a sharper image, but I think the isolated white background and the style and clip art is the main thing that needs to remain. And it created some interesting foliage for us that we might be able to use. I might be able to use it even for grass, we will check. And then I had the idea to make it a background, and it resulted some interesting output. I used the forced one here, but you know, you can see that there are some other ideas here that you can take. Now I also tried to generate some flowers, because I know that flowers are made in a similar way. So for example, this middle flower here, let me make it a slightly bigger so you will see. So this middle flower here is perfectly fine for creating a simple flower foliage. And you know, you might not, you need to probably add more effort into it, but this pinkish flower here is also something that would be available in the game usually. So these two I can probably take. These I cannot use because these are pictures and not atlases. So you know, that's okay. We are here to experiment. So let me make a bigger one of the 3 and let's say the 4, and we will check. I tried to create another variation of this one. So if you look at this image, for example, this one would be perfectly fine for a tree. Not as a tree, but like 3 leaves. And if you do that, I can probably make an example of that one as well in this video. you can grab this one and multiply it and turn it around by 90 degrees, and you can create sort of like a simple 3D shape, and then you can distribute it along the side of a sphere, for example, and then you will have a simple tree. I will show that one in a second. So I will take that one. Yeah, I'm interested in looking for that one to check that one out. The rest, I don't necessarily see anything. Maybe this one, the top one here. This would be a fairly simple foliage. So let's take the first one and the third one. And let's take a look at this one. Oh yeah, actually I like this one better. This bottom one is a variation, but that's okay. That's not bad. I'm also interested in this reddish flower here, and I will show you in a second how we can use that. So let's take a third one, and then let's look at the flowery output, if I can use something from it. I could probably use this red flower here. I like this green flower here. And not much else from here. These are specifically made to be hand painted, so if you add a different style here, I will show that in a second too. So if you do a remix here, and oh, not that one, sorry, I wanted to have a variation of the first one, and then instead of hand painted clip art, we will say realistic clip art. Then it will create us more variations. For the moment I take the first one because that had the interesting foliage, and the second one, and nothing from here. Maybe this one would be fairly good as a shrubbery. I take the second one. And this is an output. I will put these in. I was interested in this one. So this one is supposed to be a no, this is still hand painted. So where is the realistic one? No, it's probably still working on it, isn't it? Anyway, I will get back to you once that last one is finished. Created me a couple of more interesting hand-painted ideas. Not all of them are usable, but you can. This one is a fairly realistic one. I've seen this flower in real life, so this yellowish top we can definitely use. And once I saved a couple of these, I will come back to you and I will show you how to add these to Blender. Right, so after, let me close out this one. After you saved your images, you can go to photopea.com, and this is a simple online editor, so you don't need an account or don't need anything for it. And you can just pull your images from wherever you save them. Hold on, I also need to find that location for myself. Right, so let me drop the first one here. And from this one, you can just simply pull your image here, and it's a layered editor, so it's pretty cool. And from this image, I wanted to take this middle section and the red flower and perhaps the yellow flower too. And how we can do that is we navigate here to Magic Eraser, right click on it and do Magic Eraser. And this will remove the background for most of our stuff. You can alt and zoom in to look into the things that might not work. Like for example here, although we don't need that area, you can just manually click there if you are using that. And I think that this is fairly good. You can adjust the tolerance here if it would be too big or too small. If I put the tolerance down to like 14 and Let me try it on this one, for example. I wanted to figure out if I need to increase it or decrease it. Actually I can decrease it, and if I decrease it, it will remove more things from it. So maybe not 135, but if I increase it to like 60, that part of the image is not really important to me, but I can experiment with it. So that should actually, let me put this back. And now when I click on it, it will leave less of a black edge around it, which is perfectly good for us, because that's what we will need. We need these two flowers and that one, but you see it completely destroyed this foliage here, so be very careful with it. But the default value is 40, and I think that will preserve most of the flower. You might need to save another version of this value where you make it a bit bigger. So let me try 57. No, let me try 50. And I go back and do this, and it still destroyed quite much of this foliage. So I just leave it at the default 40, because that will preserve enough of these flowers so I can actually use it. We will see. If it really bothers me, I can probably come back and save another image just for this. The rest doesn't matter at this point. I mean, you can cut this one out right now, create a new layer, you can create a new document and just copy the things that you need. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm not doing that. It doesn't really matter. This is not game production ready. This is just messing around with stuff. You know what? I save one version of this one. I can export it as PNG. And then I go back on this, increase this to 60, and then remove that. And this will give us a fairly good version of what we need here. Let me use just a normal erase tool and remove this part here, because that we will definitely not need. And then we don't really need the rest of it either, but that should be fine. This will be a lighter version of it with less black around the flowers. I export this one as PNG as well. Right, so when you're done with this one, you can close it and pull in another image of foliage that you would like. Let's see this one. So this is a white background and watercolory stuff, and I was not even sure which one of this I wanted, but let's take this top version from this one. So process is the same, magic eraser, and I think 60 did a fairly good job to save what we needed. Let me zoom in on this one. I can probably use these. Yeah, this is okay. I'm not sure I will need the bottom part. I will probably not need the bottom part because of how I will do it. So let me go to normal erase tool and remove like this much. And we will cut around this part to save the middle one. And we can cut around. Actually, if you look at it closely, you see that it was cutting into this part of the flower either. So the 60 is too much in our case. But you can actually just pick a color here and then use a paint tool and make it flow opacity like 20, and brush size, where is the brush size here? Actually, I have not used this one before, but it should be a fairly easy way to fix this. Hold on. Flow, is this the size? No, it's not. This is the size. Yeah. So with this one you can just paint back whatever the tool was missing. It's not be 100%, but you know, this is just fixing some things. Anyway, you would need to, you know, draw this, but if you don't know how to draw or how to paint or how to use a paint program, generating these images with AI is significantly easier now. Let me export this as PNG and see you back at Blender when we are experimenting with this a bit more. Right, so here we are in Blender. Let me put myself in top view and cursor to world origin for the moment. This is Blender version 3.5 and hold on, I add my shortcuts down in the corner here, so you will see when I'm clicking, right clicking, moving up and down, it will be displayed down here. So how you can do this is basically add a plane, mesh plane. This is just a simple plane, and for this we will go back to like this version even, but here we will actually see the image that we will add. And you can press tab to edit mode, U to UV unwrap, and then that should be it. If you go to UV editing, you see that a square texture and we are filling out all of it. That is perfectly good for the moment. And now we can go to shading. I zoom in on this a little bit and change this back to shaded. I create a new node, principled BSDF is okay. I go to add search and image texture, and I will hook up color to base color and alpha to alpha. This might not be the perfect setup, but you know, we can iterate on this later. And here I will add the texture that I created. Here are the pictures that I have, and I think I saved. Yeah, these are the flowers that I made. This is for the middle foliage, so that will be fine. And we have this one here. You can take all of it, but I specifically zoomed in on this middle flower that I wanted to take. In order to work with this, we go back to layout. It's a bit dark here, but let me go to the other side. Orientation doesn't really matter in this case. You can select the plane, press tab to edit mode, and then press K to cut out. That should be a knife tool. If you press K, it will appear as a knife. And you can do a rough cutout of the leaves that you made. And when you finished, you need to press enter to cut it out. It will cut out most of it, but it doesn't really matter for our case. You can press 3 to face select, and then select the two faces that we don't need, and just simply press X and faces. Oh, I need some adjustment here, I just realized, because this one is cutting off the edge of that leaf. So I select this vertex and that vertex, right click and subdivide. That will create a node here, and I can... Oh no, I cannot actually. Normally you would be able to move this, but I just need to get back to it in a different way. So this is the stuff. Edit mode, K to select. One there, one there. We give it a bit more space, now it will work better. And enter. And then 3 to edit mode, select the two X faces. And now we have a plane of our foliage. It looks a bit poopy if you zoom in close, but that should not be a problem because you're not looking at it from this close. you're looking at it from this close, and from this close it looks okay, I guess. If you change here and you see a gray stuff, that means that you are in Eevee. You can go here and render engine cycles, and that, hold on, that's not really doing what I expected it to. Let me go to layout, and actually this should have removed the stuff around it. Hold on, let me go to shading, alpha to alpha, let me troubleshoot real time here. Alright, so I think it was working. It was just hard for me to see because it was gray on gray. But if you put a lighter plane under it, you can tell that it is actually working as a transparency and transparent plane. If you look at it from cycles, and the transparency is hooked up on the plane, so it is now a transparent plane that we can work with. But I don't have powerful machines, so I need to switch back to the preview mode, because this will be much smoother for me. And if I go back to layout, this also works now. Fantastic. So I go back here, and this is very plain looking plane. So what we need to do here is I move it up, go to edit mode, press K, and then go from here to here, here to here, and here to here. We cut it in half, and then do another knife cut from this point to here, and this point to up here, and then press enter, and then another knife cut from here to here to here, and that should be fairly okay. If you look at it, the plane or the wireframe even, you can tell that we have not done much to it, which is just, so we can add some shape. If you go back here, press 2 to line mode, and select the middle line, you can move it a bit inside. And then if you go to vertex mode, select the top ones and press R as in rotate, and then move it a bit down. Kind of like that. That should also work. If you want to do extra work, we can do another cut, like from here to down here. Let me do that one to you as well here. So here to down here, enter, and then here to down here, let's say around the middle. And then you can actually move these vertices out and down a little bit, like this. And then these, or this one more like it, a bit down here. This is a bit wonky shape and doesn't look particularly good. But actually, let me do another cut from here to here, because I wanted to elevate this a bit without ruining the others. And this middle one looks looking a bit strange, so I put that one down. Yeah, but this should be more or less fine. You can check your work in the options. So if you unselect everything, this will starting to look like a leaf that is a bit bent and looking okay-ish. Then you can go back here and duplicate this a few times to create an illusion of a plant that is growing. Oh, and one thing that you can do here, since it is very jagged, you can right click and shade smooth. And that should actually even out some of the harsh cuts in this one. If you go back here, this almost looks like it is flowing when it is not. Alright, so you have this one, go to top view. One thing that you can do here is that you can go to edit mode, select the bottom vertex, so press Shift S and then cursor to select it. That will put the 3D cursor at the bottom. And then you can go out of edit mode, object, set origin to 3D cursor. This will make sure that your origin point is down here, so when you are rotating, just this one, if you're rotating, you are rotating it from the stem, not from the middle point or anything. So you can now Shift D, duplicate, R to rotate, Shift D, duplicate, R to rotate. These look a bit strange, but you can modify these individually if you want. You can rotate them differently. You can even edit individual ones and just say that you want these to be a bit more down and a bit more to the leafy side. And then you can probably adjust some of these, like the middle vertex you can move away here, and then that will create a different illusion of a leaf. Then you can also go out, select all three with Shift, go to top view, Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate, scale to scale it down, and then GZ to move it up a little bit. And then you can further adjust these ones like this way. And if you go back to view mode, you see that we will start to get something like a shrubbery. It's looking a bit strange, but it will actually look okay, more or less, when you look at it in game, and especially if you look at it in like this distance. I let the cycles render kick in a little bit. I think it's acceptable, because most of the time you don't need anything more than this for a foliage. So what you can do now is, just for the sake of simplicity, I go back here, I hide the plane because we don't need that, I hide the lights because we don't need that. Oh, there was another light that I forgot to hide here. And then I select all of them and then press Ctrl J to join them as one mesh. Ctrl J to join them as one mesh. And now you can move this as one object. And you see the point of origin is a bit higher than I would expect it, because it moved it to the first leaf in the series, or I guess the last one. So what you can do is you can go to origin and set origin to 3D cursor again, and it will put it fairly down here. And then you can also press Ctrl A to apply all transforms. This will make sure that the scale is uniform and everything is working. And that's okay. If you look at the UV editing, you will see that this is still our plane. We just cut out this middle section here. And technically, when you have a bunch of these, you can create your own atlas. And then you can just use one texture for like 20 different foliage. Right now, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm using this one texture for this one leafy green, and that should be fine. Let me put this one in, like export it out. I export it as FBX, and I already have one plant here which I was practicing on, so this will be plant 2. And I have an FBX default preset, which is basically making sure you only export the selected objects. No lights, no camera, no armature, no anything else. And it also makes sure that your smoothing group is set to edge. This is important for Unreal Engine if you exporting to that one. And then it will export, and bam, that's what you have. Let me quickly throw this into Unreal Engine and we can take a look at how it looks there. Right, so here we are in Unreal Engine. Let me exit the edit mode. Right, so I'm in the play mode. So now we are here in edit. And you can organize this better. This is just for the sake of video. But I can add an import and I select blend 2. And it should import something. I got an error message here. FBX in loading found texture name clash. Name clash can wrongly reassign. Yeah, so it's basically saying that I have not named my texture properly, but those are minor things. We are not here for that. We have blend 2 here. And you can see here that is not two-sided foliage at the moment. It is not applying the transparency, so that's not particularly what we need. Let me close this one out and then go to, I think this is the material for that. And in order to set this up correctly, actually you can hold on, let me move to the other end of the map a little bit so we can experiment on it and see it at real time. I pull one version of this here so we can take a look. So now what we need to do is I need to move the alpha channel of the image to opacity mask. It's currently inactive because our material doesn't have opacity, or more like it says blend mode opaque. You need to come here to material and change this to masked. This will mask out anything which is black based on the alpha texture, and you will have this transparent material above. And you can either leave it like this or you can use it if you look at it from the bottom actually, which you will not do much hopefully, then you see that from the bottom it is, hold on, let me navigate it. So from the bottom it is transparent. If you want to make it sure that it is working, you need to click on this settings here called two-sided. That will make sure that the material can be viewed from both sides, and it will not give any strange transparency when looked from a different angle. Yeah, so this is how it looks right now. If I deselect it, you can tell that it's a bit more bluish, but that's not a problem here. Two settings that I need to do here is specular and roughness. Specularity is basically like a white shine on top of everything. I press 1 and click once, and that should give me a simple variable integer here. I plug this into specularity, and that will make... let me focus on this one. That will make it not specular, so basically it will make it a bit darker, not that white shiny thing. And then I use another one, so press 1 and click inside here to add another variable. I plug this into roughness, and I plug this into roughly around 0.8, 0.9-ish. And I save this material, and this should update to a bit darker view of this. So we have a bluish greenish blend here. I can close this now and go to the Foliage editor. I pull this one in, and now I have a foliage that I can change here. I can add scale 0.9 to 1. I guess 1.2 would be nice or something, but I think I'm running out of memory. 1.4. Alright, that should be fine. And then you can roll this down a little bit more, and you can adjust random rotation and random anything to it. Oh, it's still calculating this one for some reason to 2 digits. Let me put this to 1.5, and that should be it. If you go down to placement, you can put it up or down. You can add max random pitch and angle. I can add a little bit to this one, like 0.2, 0.2, random view, max angle, and then you can paint with this, and it will put out a bunch of these foliage. Of course, you can move this around a little bit. Oh, and I still have this selected, so if you paint with my previous foliage and this one as well, which is not a problem at the moment. This if you want to purely see this one, I can put a patch of it here, and that should be fine. The one thing that will not be fine is that this plant currently has collision. So if you open up the plant asset, you can go to collision settings here, and instead of block all, you can say no collision. And when you save it, you can actually make sure that you can walk through this asset. And now if I press play, it takes me to my wonderful 3D character, and which is struggling a little bit because this is not particularly optimized. But you can see that I have my greenish bluish foliage here together, and I think it's not perfect, but considering how much work it took for us to create this, is not that bad. And we can do the same with flowers as well. So let me cut one flower out, and I will show you that one too. Right, so we are back at Blender. I hide this one, and I will create a new plane. And same way as before, shading, new, add node, image texture, color to color, alpha to alpha, and we will add I think I used the second one where I was focusing more on the flowers, so I will keep that one. And I can cut red and yellow flowers out of this one. And I think I might take the bottom part of this flower too. Actually, I wanted to take this one, but I forgot to fix this imperfection here. So we will see. Actually, you know what, it would not take too much time to fix this. I might just hop back into Photopea and fix this two part here, so I can use this flowery part here. That would be okay. Be back in a second. Right, so here we are, back in Blender with a fixed version of this. Not too well fixed, but you know, this is just a quick thing that you can try. Alright, so this should look okay. Now we can do the cutting. I go to layout, type to edit mode, K to knife cut. I cut around this flower. And with one stroke, just to make sure that I'm cutting the right one. I'm cutting around this one too. And it doesn't really matter. I go through here and I cut out this red flower also. To make sure that we don't have any lines going through there. I press enter, and then one thing you can do is you can press 3 to face select, select. Oh, I actually messed this one up, haven't I? Actually went through here for some reason. Alright, then let's redo. Alright, so K to knife, big plant part here. Then we go here, cut the red flower. And then we go here and cut the yellow flower. Enter. Alright, so for fuck's sake. I think it actually cuts through the red flower for some reason. You know, I tell you why I don't use that one. So because if I, not that one, so if I go here, cut here, and then press this one. Alright, so it was actually good this time, but you know, you draw these lines here, so it might not always cut through the things that you don't want them to cut through. Let me try cutting another one here. Alright, so see, this one is going through that line for some reason. But let me try cutting this one first. Alright, so that is good. And now I can cut this one from here. And cut. Nice. So now you can press 3, select the 3 things that you want to keep with Shift and click, and then press Ctrl E to invert selection, and then just simply X and remove faces. Right, so we have our yellow and red flowers. What we can do is first so what you need to do is first go to here, select this face, press P and separate per selection. Same with this one. So if we go out of edit mode, we can handle these separately. I take the trunk, I rotate it a bit like this, move it around, it doesn't really matter that much. Let's say it's upright. And then I do one trick, which is can be like Shift D, duplicate, rotate on the Z axis, and then I have this one here. If I go to top view, I can position this roughly in the middle of it. I'm not sure if this will be a good idea, but I will try. Just so this flower will be shown from a different angle. Let me put the stems at the same place at least, and then I can perhaps make sure that this is roughly in the same place. Yeah, not the best. Let me put some sun back in here, but I think it works. I do this because you know, this will be viewed from different angles, and if you look at it from this angle, it will not show only just one side. This is why we do this cross-plane thingies. And for the flower, it will be even more easy, I guess. I go to edit mode, and then actually I cut around this middle section here. And then I move these there. And it doesn't really matter. I added a few more cuts, but I can add it like here. And I can also add this one to here. And then I can also, actually this is just not really required, but you can do like one extra line around here. This will help with the shape. Then what you can do is simply select the faces you need, like shift click, and then just press G and Z, and that will pull the bottom of the flower down a little bit, right? So this will, if you go to the cycles render view, you see that it looks like a flowerish flower. You can remove this line here by selecting the whole thing, right click and shade smooth. And there you have it, a nice AI generated flower. I can now go back here and position this roughly in the middle of, or top of it like this. Let's see if how that will look. So I think that looks a bit strange, but let me adjust it a little bit. So this one, well, still not perfect because some of the leaves will go in there, but you can go to the leaf, select some vertices and remove these manually from the flower. You can select this one too. You can move that one out. This one seems to be there a little bit. I mean, definitely not perfect, but you know. You would anyway do these if you would draw the flower yourself. It would be just a little bit different. Like, you can just still adjust this a bit further to make it a bit more in it. You can even duplicate this, make it smaller, and just put it at the edge of the leaf somewhere, or somewhere on the stem. Let's make it much smaller, and I can put one here somewhere. You see, the origin point for this is not at the right place, but I'm not fixing it because that's not really important here. I mean, it would make my work easier, but you know, this much hardness is expected. Alright, so this is one flower, and we can do the same. I just duplicate this one. This will be a simpler one. Actually, let me duplicate both of these. I make it a smaller one, and we will do the same with the red one. I go to edit mode, K to knife select, go around roughly here, and one more point here, and press enter. If you added one vertex, for example, here that you don't need, you can press X and dissolve vertices. Then you can just select this vertex and press J to join them, select this vertex and this, and J to join this one, and J to join, and let's say these ones too. This one create an n-gon here, but it doesn't really matter. I can cut around the middle section like in the other one, and I can actually make a few more cuts here, and one, let's say, from here to here, and then I can go to face select the middle one, G and Y, and that should create a fairly flower-shaped flower. Same with the other one, shade smooth. Actually go back here a little bit to see better. And these look a bit too straight on the stem, so let me adjust it. And also I can make it a bit smaller. This is all about just adjusting your model and how that will look. If I go back here, you can tell that it's currently floating a bit, but I can move it like here, and that should be okay, I guess. Now that you have them, the next step is to select all, Ctrl J to join, and then you make sure that the pivot point is down here. So you come here, select this edge, Shift S and cursor to select it, that will put it in the middle of the edge. Then you tab out of edit mode, select the plant, object, set origin to 3D cursor, and that will actually make so that our flower will pivot there, and we do the same for this one too. Ctrl J to join. Oh, it doesn't have an... Yeah, if you get this error message, that means that you don't have an active object selected. It means that one of these lines is supposed to be the primary selected, because that will... For example, if you have this one, and then you remove this, then you will have no active object selected of this collection. And then you try to join, you will get an error message somewhere that's saying that you cannot join because you don't have an active object. In that case, you just need to select one of them, shift click on this one for example, and it will make it the active selection. And now when you press Ctrl J, it will merge everything and it will keep the origin point of the last selected item there. And you will do the same with this one. Select the edge, Shift S, cursor to selected, tab out of edit mode, object, set origin to 3D cursor. Oh, I was not doing that. Select, set origin to 3D cursor. And now this one will rotate and it's just one flower in itself. Right, so now we can do this like Shift S, cursor to world origin, and then object Shift S, selection to cursor. This will put it right at the world origin. I make it a bit smaller, and then I press Ctrl A to apply all transforms. This will make sure that all the rotations and resize and everything will be applied. Then I export it as FBX as before, and then FBX default, and I will call this flower 1. And then I hide this, take the other one and do the same things with Shift S, selection to cursor, Ctrl A, apply all transforms, file, export, FBX, and this will be flower 2. Right, let me jump back to Unreal Engine where we will import these, and we will take a look at how that will look there. Right, here we are in Unreal Engine, and I need to exit the play mode. My poor laptop is getting at the rope's end of it. I don't want foliage, for the moment I just want selection. Let me go to a different part of this small map here, so we can experiment. I don't really need these, but it doesn't matter. And we will add both stuff, flower 2 and flower 1. It will still complain about the texture, but yeah, no, that we cannot really do much about. And we have both of our flower here, flower 2 and flower 1. And at the moment they look a bit poopy, but we can solve that easily. Let me open up the... I think this is material 1, I have not named anything here. Actually this is not material 1, it just looks like material 1, but since we are here I Ctrl C these variables. hold on. I need to figure out which one is using what. So this one is using material 2, so this is the one. Yeah, here it is. Alright, so this will be the flower 2 material. We do the same here as with the other one. I insert the 2 variables, I change this to masked and 2-sided. And then I put 0 to specular, 0.8 to roughness, alpha to opacity mask. And bam! Save the material. And voila! Is it using the same? So strange that it is actually... Oh, it's actually using the same. So we don't need to change anything else. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot already that we were working from one texture for both of them. Alright, so this is okay, I guess. The one thing I need to check with both of these is that collision is not applied, because I want to walk through my field of flowers. Collision presets, no collision, save. And this one for the other one too. Collision presets, no collision, save. And now we have flowers. I can now switch to Foliage editor, remove these two, add these two, and I should be able to paint with flowers. Oh yeah, look at that. I have not modified the settings in it, so you can probably change this to vary the rotation, vary the size, vary the distribution. Probably you will need less of this. But let me go in here and just walk around it. I mean, it's not perfect, but considering how little we had to work with it, I think this is not that bad, not that bad at all. I do like the greenish flowers, but you can tweak these however you want. You can mix the textures with a solid color to achieve a different color or different distribution. But yeah, all in all, I think this is not bad. And we skipped on all the texture painting that would be required for painting the flower, painting the greenery. All we did is just the rest of it, basically. Shaping it into a plane, cutting the plane, making sure transparencies are applied. And making the rest. I hope you find this video useful. And don't be mad at me if you are a texture artist. And leave your comment down below and let me know what you think of all this. And if you are an artist, I'm especially curious about your opinion on how this will work and what do you think of it, and do you see this as something that would change your workflow somehow? If you are a game dev, then also leave a comment down below to let me know if this is something that you can imagine using for your own game. Perhaps not with these assets, but with different assets. And how you think that this could be useful. I thought it was interesting. I'm not too good with painting. I can do it if I really want to. But I think it takes too much time, at least for me, because I've never learned how to draw. But this is an interesting way to make foliage, and I think it's worth to take a look at, even if you are not interested in AI or you think the traditional workflows will always be better. I think it would be a mistake to just not look at this and not think that this will affect the future of how games are made. because I think that this will. So, you know, leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. And see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day, people. Bye-bye.